Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's me here. Welcome back. And today we're going to talk about cat hungry. This is something that all of us deal with all the time. We're always trying to figure out when our cats are hungry and how often should we be feeding them? How much should we be feeding them? Should we be free feeding? Should we be portion controlling their food? All these different things. So today I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks and ways to know if your cat is truly hungry and ready for more food. One of the most common questions I get asked by new cat parents or even experienced cat parents is, how do I know if my cat is actually hungry? I mean, cats will pretty much eat all day long if you let them, and so it can be very hard to decipher whether they are truly hungry or just bored or wanting to nag you for more food. So this is a great question. Let's talk about it. So the first thing you want to make sure is that your cat has access to fresh, clean drinking water at all times. If your cat is dehydrated, they could definitely be showing signs of hunger when really what they need is more water. Cats can go several weeks without food, but only a few days without water. So that's the first place we always want to start. Make sure they have fresh, clean drinking water, and that's been recently changed because sometimes cats will drink from a sink or from a faucet. They like running water, but when that's not available, they will definitely drink from their bowls, so always make sure that's fresh, clean water. Now, the next thing you want to look for is weight loss in your cat. If you notice your cat has lost any weight at all, that's a good indicator that they are hungry and that you probably need to be increasing their food intake. However, weight loss could also be an indicator of another underlying health condition, so you definitely want to take note of that and then bring it up with your veterinarian. Another thing you can do is check the weight of your cat's poop. Now, I know that sounds disgusting, but trust me, it really helps. If your cat's poop is very, very large, and I don't mean just kind of like one giant poop, I mean multiple large poops, then that's a good sign that your cat is not getting enough to eat and they're not getting enough nutrition from their food, and they're just going through a lot of food and not really getting anything out of it. This can indicate that you need to switch foods or increase their food intake. You might also want to talk to your vet about maybe giving your cat a supplement or changing their diet completely. This is also something that you definitely want to bring up with your vet. It may also be an indicator of other dietary issues, such as food allergies, food intolerances, or other medical conditions. So definitely talk to your vet about it. Now, the next thing you can do is check the ribs. This is one of the easiest ways to determine if your cat is overweight, underweight, or just right. I know a lot of you guys don't like this method, but trust me, it's super easy. It takes just a second. Just feel along the ribs. If you can easily feel the ribs, then your cat is underweight and you need to be increasing their food intake. If you cannot feel the ribs at all, then your cat is likely overweight and you probably need to be decreasing their food intake. And then if you can just barely feel them, then your cat is likely just right and you're doing a great job with their food intake. Next, you want to be looking for changes in behavior. A lot of times we'll see that cats who are hungry will start acting out. They'll start being a little bit naughty, doing things that they normally wouldn't do, and just begging and meowing a lot more than usual. So if you notice any behavioral changes in your cat, especially those that are destructive, those are usually signs that your cat is hungry and wants more food. Another thing you can do is check their gums. If you pull down on their lower lip, you'll see the gums. If the gums are pink, then you're good to go. If they're white, then your cat is dehydrated and needs more water. And if they're red, then your cat may be anemic and you should definitely contact your vet. The next thing you can do is look for changes in their dental health. If you notice that your cat has lost appetite and is losing weight and has bad breath, then there may be an underlying dental issue that is causing them to lose their appetite and not want to eat. This is something that you definitely want to contact your vet about. The next thing you can do is look for changes in their coat. If their coat is dull, then they may not be getting the nutrients that they need from their food, and you may need to switch foods or increase their food intake. If their coat is matted, then they may be overweight, and you need to decrease their food intake. If you notice your cat is lethargic or sleeping more than usual, this may be a sign that they are not feeling well and not eating because they don't feel good. In this case, you definitely want to contact your vet and make sure that you bring your cat in for a checkup. And last but certainly not least, if you notice any of the above signs or symptoms, definitely contact your vet. There may be an underlying medical condition that is causing your cat to be hungry, thirsty, lose their appetite, lose weight, etc. And it's important to rule out any medical causes before assuming that your cat is just hungry and needs more food. Now that we've talked about all the different signs and symptoms that your cat may show you if they're hungry, let's talk about how to feed your cat. Now, this is something that every cat parent struggles with. When should we be feeding them? How much should we be feeding them? Do we free feed? Do we portion control? Should we be using a puzzle feeder? All these different things. So let's talk about it. Now, it really depends on your cat's age, their activity level, their metabolism, their environment, and even the type of food that you're feeding them. For example, if you're feeding a more active cat, they're going to need more calories than a less active cat. The same goes for indoor cats versus outdoor cats. If you're feeding a more senior cat, they're going to need less calories than a kitten or a young adult cat. You also want to make sure that you are following the feeding guidelines on the food that you are feeding your cat. These are just general guidelines. And again, you may need to adjust based on your cat's individual needs. You can always call the manufacturer of the food and ask them questions too. They're usually pretty helpful. And you also want to keep in mind that cats are obligate carnivores, which means they need meat in their diet to survive. So make sure that you are feeding your cat a high-quality protein source. Look for foods with meat or poultry as the first ingredient on the label, and avoid foods that list things like corn or wheat or soy as the first ingredients. These are not very nutrient-dense and are really just fillers. Now, if you're feeding your cat a raw diet, you may need to adjust the amount of food that you're feeding them based on the calorie density of the food. Raw food tends to be less calorie-dense than kibble or canned food, so you may need to feed your cat more. Also, if you're feeding your cat a raw diet, you want to make sure that you're providing them with a variety of muscle meats, organ meats, and edible offal. This will ensure that they're getting all the nutrients they need from their food. Now, if you're feeding your cat a raw diet, you may also want to consider supplementing with a multivitamin specifically formulated for cats. This will help ensure that your cat is getting all the vitamins and minerals they need. I know this can be very confusing and overwhelming, but hopefully I was able to break it down for you a little bit and give you some tips and tricks on how to tell if your cat is hungry and how to feed them. Again, every cat is an individual, and you may need to adjust the amount of food that you're feeding them based on their individual needs. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit and find what works best for your cat. Just make sure that they are eating a high-quality diet and that they're getting all the nutrients they need. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.